Welcome back. It's the Builder Story podcast coming to you live from Savvy Writer Studios. Don't forget to follow, like, share our content on social media at Savvy Writer Studios, and then head on to our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications at Savvy Writers TV. I have with me live in the studio Mrs. Tosin Adefeko, CEO and founder, AT3 Resources. Brown skin girl. Your skin just like pearl. Wow, you look beautiful, ma'am. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Oiza. Can't believe you're making me blush. And
Yeah,
it's just morning still.
that's the goal. Welcome to the Builder Story.
Thank you.
And well, you're not dressed like a builder, but I know that right inside of you, I am here for, out of the world story of the builder that you are. It's laudable, it's impressive, it's amazing what you've done with AT3 Resources.
Well, I surely do hope so. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Hopefully I have something to share.
Yeah, you do.
We will know by the end of this conversation.
Of course, most definitely. And then I'm so interested in this conversation because as a media professional myself,
Yes.
Public relations is one part of comms that I'm looking into transitioning into. So I'm not just interviewing you, I'm learning from you right now.
That's a great goal.
Yes.
PR is life.
Wow.
Tell your viewers I said so.
That's a sign off. Okay, so who is Mrs. Tosin Adefeko?
That is a very big first question. I think, as you would know, people describe people in different ways. But I would just tell you who I think I am at my core. I think first and foremost, at my core, I'm first a mom.
Oh.
Yes, I'm a mom. Because I find that regardless of what I try to call myself, once being a mom is threatened, I drop it all.
Wow.
So at my core, I'm a mom. Having said that, you can't exist by being that alone, right? We all want to feel like we were contributing to the world, doing great things in the world. And I think my own personal inclination is restlessness. So I just like to be busy doing something. So over the years, I never was able to drop my career to fulfill my great dreams of being a fantastic mom. So I just married the two. So I would say Tosin is an evolving woman that wants to contribute to the world whilst making sure that the human beings that she brought to the world are properly trained.
Oh,
That is me.
that's so sweet.
Thank
So I want to believe that as a mother and as a CEO that you are, you have a sort of clique of friends, women that are like you that you call your friends. So if I call one of them and I say, hello, who would you say Mrs. Tosin Adefeko is? What would they have to say about you?
Let me tell you, everything I just said now, they would say, but they will give you a bit of extra.
Okay.
Because apparently, fortunately or unfortunately, I can be a bit rigid.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm interested in that.
You're
extra.
interested in that, I'll tell you. That's because I'm sort of like very clear-cut on who I am and what I want to do. And over the years, I've had to learn that in all of this, you have to also factor in other people and their idiosyncrasies. So I remember when I was much younger, I would always get into trouble with my friends because if there was a time that we had to do something, I'm that person that would insist that we had to do it at the time we agreed. So that rigidity would come to the fore, right? And then you find people going, hey, we don't want to see Wahala today. Do you get? That's one. And in so many other ways, like just wanting to do my thing in the way that I know how to or in the way that works for me. But that's where growth comes in, right? Because as you grow, you find maybe here and there you can adjust some of your, as long as it doesn't affect your entire value system, it's fine. So sometimes I just try to be less rigid. So my friends, you can't get away from a conversation without them mentioning that part of me.
Rigidity.
I tell you, so I have to confess myself. I'm sure they would laugh if they watch this.
So we are in a traditional society, right?
Yes.
And we know how Nigeria is, especially when it deals with women. So that part of you where you want to like have your things done, the way you want it done, that rigidity. How were you able to manage it growing up? how were you able to especially manage the eyebrows raised from people who would say, this one cannot marry you, you cannot do this, you are over ambitious, oh, you're this, you're that. How were you able to manage all of those side comments and thoughts?
Okay, let me tell you, I don't even know for sure that I'm managing them. I just sort of like, so I put myself in situations where I don't have to explain myself all the time. I feel like people would align with people that share common goals, common values, a common vision. So I just look for people that we sort of like have things in common. So most of my friends are actually my very close friends. So my friends, the friends that I've had have been my friends since I was a kid. The ones that we understand each other, we have commonalities. Those ones, they don't go anywhere because they know that in that, what I called rigidity, is a very loyal friend, a very loving friend, a very determined person, someone that will support you to the core. So even if I say so myself, I don't see that it affects where you put yourself in situations that you share common values, like I said. With people that make snide comments, I don't know for sure that you should stop and listen to every, because half the time they actually don't know you. That's the honest truth. Half the time they don't know you. The ones that do get to, if they're lucky enough to cross that Rubicon, because they're boundaries, right? But if they're lucky enough to cross that Rubicon and they do know you, they find a whole lot more than, it's like gold.
Yeah.
So with regard to, how will she marry? I always tell people, life doesn't start and end with marriage. I've been married for 20 years.
Wow.
Last week was my 20th anniversary.
Wow.
I did not carry a badge on my head. If you noticed, I didn't necessarily introduce myself as a wife.
Yeah.
Because for the love of God, we are just two independent people that have come together to create a family. So much as we love each other and might experience our own unique challenges, it is not a descriptor, in my opinion. Do you understand? So we're just living life. We're doing life. And it's good to have someone to do life with.
So I have an interesting question in mind.
Go ahead.
Okay, I should ask it. So you're not in the school of thought of people who say marriage is an achievement?
I do not for 1 second actually key into that.
Wow.
It's almost ridiculous. And I'm sure my husband is listening, so you don't have to worry about the implications of that comment. It's almost quasi-ridiculous to go around saying, if you don't marry. So I'm sure,
especially for a Nigerian woman.
Yeah, so I'm sure my mom will be like, how did this girl stay married? Because my mom is actually more the traditional type mom. Like she was married into a polygamous home, maybe also some of those things that I sort of like grew into defined how I see myself these days. Because I remember my dad was the price. So he had all these women that were always like all over him. There's nothing wrong in that. If that's a setting you want to be in, it's just not my thing. Sorry.
Wow. So, I did read about you, and I even found out that I'm following you on LinkedIn.
Really?
Yes.
How did I not know that?
So I did read about you, and I got to know that your parents separated at 3, where you were 3. How was that growing up for you? How were you able to, set out your life? Because I'm imagining at 3, that was when you needed your mom the most. How was it like for you?
Honest truth, I actually didn't know any life apart from that. So it's when you have something to compare it to that you would be so devastated in a sense about something. I actually didn't know any other life. So I think I saw, or rather visited my mom for the first time when I was 10. And by that time, she was probably already a stranger.
Wow.
Do you see? So it's not anything that I sort of like allowed to weigh me down. But as an older person, I do see where it could affect a child, like a growing child that should have been properly nurtured. I do see that. But things happen, which is why at least I'm trying to do things differently with my own kids. Do you see?
Do you think that contributed to you being rigid?
You never know.
Okay, I think I have my answer.
You really never know. But honestly speaking, I think every human being is a product of the environment, is a product of their upbringing, is a product product of the exposure that they were giving. So the nurturing part is so key. So, I mean, I'm sure nature has a hand to do with what our personality types are, if you ask the scientists. But the way in which you were nurtured also does matter. And I think the mere fact that I didn't have that sort of motherly, guidance as a young child should have, definitely would have had an impact. But I think I spent my teens trying to correct, let me say late teens, early 20s, trying to correct the impact of whatever I thought was deficient about my childhood. But my closest friends know what my, the demons that I carry are, and they just sort of like avoid some certain touchy areas.
Do you want to give a shout out to them? Because I feel like they're really part of you.
They know themselves. Let me not call anyone's name, but Bestie should be acknowledged for her role in not giving up in my life. AA, where are you?
Let's talk about AT3 Resources.
Yes.
How did it start? And I also got to know, I'm sorry, I picked a lot into you, right? That you used to be a banker. How? Because me now, I sound like this. I said I want to transition, right? And then it's like a big wall. I don't even know where to start. How are you able to know where to start? How to put things together? How?
Good. How much time do we have? Because that will be the longest part
the whole
of the
day.
Okay, let me tell you. There's no. Because I'm going to start by answering that question with the fact that there's no single. What do they call it now? Like the silver bullet to life. It is just that when I introduced myself, I talked about an evolving woman, and I'm still evolving. But I can tell you, just map the trajectory a little, since we're talking about builders. Now, after the whole childhood I described, I think I came out with a sense of I am not going to be a product of what I lacked. I was determined to make a success of my life. Because in this same setup that I describe, the same setup that I described to you, you don't want to know what happened to so many other members of my family. I have people struggling till today because of that whole, setup that just wasn't properly nurturing to us as young people. So imagine me in my 20s as a very fresh graduate, not quite understanding what I wanted to do with my life and just basically trying to navigate. So I think that's how I found myself in banking, because even though I come from a family of bankers, my father was a renowned banker. My mom was a banker for almost 30 years. So, just like a natural progression, I just thought, I should also go into banking without thinking about it, right? But see me now, the way you said see me now, I didn't know one mathematics in my life. I hated accounting and all of that sort of, anything that was that way
X and
related.
Ys.
Just wasn't me. Like, X and Y means nothing as far as I'm concerned. So see me now trying to figure out a career in banking. It was all fun and games until I had to do things that I didn't like to do. They didn't come naturally to me, right? So you would see me, I'd have to go sit with my best friend. Can you please explain how these figures are traveling? Do you know, like, what the, excuse my French, I won't use it. What's going on here? So we'd sit down for hours trying to break down stuff. And I'm like, okay, whatever, from bank to bank to bank. I actually sort of like grew within the industry. But imagine growing into heading a major commercial banking team, but still not loving the job you wake up to every morning.
Wow.
To me, was almost ridiculous. So I'm lucky that I had the gumption, if you like, to sort of like look into myself and my soul, major form of introspection as I was turning 30. And I said to myself, Tosh, everyone calls me Tosh,
It's always
by the way.
30.
It's that 30. I think it's an age thing. And when we
Yeah.
get into the conversation, I'll tell you what happened again at 40. Because that would answer your question. Because I remember almost turning 30 and thinking to myself, is this how it's going to be? Like, I'm just going to sit here, do a job I actually do not enjoy. Even though I like to put a proviso in, I learned a lot from banking. You see, I keep talking about not enjoying it from a position of interest, but from a position of learning, from a position of development, from a position of gaining knowledge, even building networks, if you like. That was a fantastic place to be. That's where I cut my teeth with understanding business, understanding building relationships, understanding how to be tenacious with your job. Because honestly speaking, if I mean to digress now, what I see these days, I'm like almost like you people are not developing the way they should. Banking did all that for us in those years. It was almost 20 years ago, by the way. So anyway, after I decided that, listen, the only way to create a new future for myself would be to go back to school. Because never mind, I'm a student of English and literary studies. Never mind, I was always interested in advertising. I skipped all that in my 20s and I went into banking.
You know, you look at how you studied this and you loved it, but just one way, you just didn't follow it.
I promise you, it's lack of imagination, lack of thinking. It was just a case of, oh, everybody's a banker.
In my family.
In my family, even my friends, everybody's a banker. They're paying plenty money in the banks. It's thoughtlessness. And I literally just also went to take a bank job. And you don't even know when you get soaked in, right? So I just kept moving from bank. What if I tell you I worked in 5 banks? Will you believe? I just kept moving from bank to bank. And then I paused for a moment and said, hang on. It's not the banks that's the problem. It's you. What do you want to do? So I had to go back. I was talking about my whole self-review and assessment, and I realized you missed your trajectory. This man just died, Raymond Dokpesi. I'll tell you a very quick story. When we left school, my classmates and I, the first place that we went to look for a job was at AIT.
Wow.
And I remember then, I was still at my dad's in Lekki. People hadn't even moved to Lekki when we moved to Lekki, to be honest. So, and I remember going all the way from our house at Lekki Phase 1 to Alagbado.
Wow.
So I remember looking at my classmate there, Sefia, because she ended up working. So I don't tell my story without her. She'll have a good laugh if she listens to it. Because she ended up taking the job, and I looked at her and I was like, so there's no way I'm coming here every day. I was 21. I was like, there's no way I'm coming here every day from my house. So it's not happening. And then I ran away and I started working at an oil company. This was even way before banking, because I noticed we went straight into banking. This was way before I even went to banking, because I remember going after that to South Africa, still trying to look for a future that I didn't know what I wanted, you know. Did a bit of all this, it was the Y2K, so all these courses that were raining then, C++, A+. No, I'm not a programmer. You see that it's all about
just testing the waters.
Honestly. And I saw one video the other day saying, in your 20s, do everything. That guy was so right. I can't remember where I saw the video. Test everything, do everything. That's what I was doing. I tested programming. I said, no, this is not for me. I was doing website creation. I loved it, but I was like, how do I make money from this in those years? Did this, did that, here and there. In Yoruba, they call it Eyije Yoje. You know that phrase? That's just how I was doing. 20s till I ended up in banking. So it's a good thing we piggybacked a little to talk about that before I went into banking. Only for me to get there and I'm like, oh.
Finally.
No. It was like, oh, I have a job, but I don't like this job. So do you see? So this was me doing a bit of a going back. Let's now continue from the age of 30. Now I'm more mature. I'm seeing the future and I'm thinking, if I stay here when I'm 40, I'm going to be suicidal because I do not like this job. What do you want to do, Tosh? And that was it. The answers just came to me. You love to talk. You love to write. In every class you've ever been in, you were like the best communicator, the best writer. Everybody defers to you for words. I was like an encyclopedia. I don't know. My memory is failing me these days. It's all gone. But honestly, call the word and I will tell you the meaning. Wow. So it was a case of just looking at myself and say, you were not meant to be here. There's a reason. There's a power you have you're not using. Instead, you're struggling with people that their own natural inclination is mathematics and finance. That's why I have a best friend that is like so big in what she's doing because that's her own. This is not me. So I left it all and I went back to school.
Wow. Now
imagine dropping a job that I was already a very senior level manager. At the time, I used to relate directly with Tosin Adefeko before he died on some of the accounts I was working on. Imagine leaving all that well-paid job. And I went back to school in England to do my master's in marketing communications. Now, when I did that, I knew what I was doing was to try and create a new future, but it's not like I could see that the future was going to crystallize into everything it is now. I didn't see anything. It was just me sort of like designing a new life and a new path. So when I went back to school, did my master's, I came back. I was looking for a job in marketing communications. After everything I've described, do you think anybody would give me a job? The only leg I had in there was the fact that I did a master's. So
and comms is about experience.
Exactly. And everybody is about experience. So it was a bit tough. But eventually I did get one person that gave me an opportunity, who actually turned out to be one of my clients in the bank that just liked the fact that, I was very professional about my work. And he goes, I'm about to set up a mic, because after I left, he called me. I didn't even tell him. He just called me and he was like, Madam, I heard you left. Why did you leave now? Why did you leave? I said, sir, that's not really what I want to do. It's fine. I'll just be at home till I get what I want to do. And he goes, what do you want to do? Come and see me. And then I said to him, okay, I'll come. And I went. It turns out he owns one of the biggest media houses in Nigeria, by the way. And I was managing his account from a banking perspective. But it turns out he was the one that actually gave me that break that allowed me to cross over into media. Now, on paid job, I didn't care. I literally would just follow him everywhere for every meeting, just because to me, that gave me life. And it gave me the opportunity to express myself in the best way that I knew. Now, I did that for a few months. And if I hadn't taken that job, albeit that it was unpaid, I wouldn't have gotten the next gig. And the next gig literally gave me an opportunity to be the marketing manager at a television station at the time. It was a news station. And to me now, all of that kicked off the new career that I started. So after that TV station had problems, the next place I went to turns out to be a PR firm. Do you see?
Okay.
Good. So you were talking about the house. These are all the house.
Yeah.
Because it's about like positioning yourself for the opportunities that are yet to come. So all I was doing at the time was just whatever opportunity I got, good or bad, as long as it was within the industry that I could learn from, I took it. And by the time I got into PR, by the way, it was me then getting an opportunity to meet my greatest mentor till today. I'm sure if he watches this again, he was like, Tosin, you don't stop talking about me. And I'm like, how do I stop talking about you? Because I remember when I was a student in London doing my master's, I remember seeing him on the plane and thinking, I had seen my God. Because everyone knows Beyond the Showmanager is the doyen of marketing. So when I saw him, I was like, one of all those funny conversations trying to...
So you got a job with him?
Yes. So what happened was, I got a job with one of his companies. It wasn't necessarily a direct role with him, because don't forget he's the chairman of like 8 companies. But this is me now. Do you hear what I just described? Do you see how long it took me to get to anywhere close to what I was interested in doing?
At this time, how old were you then?
30. So I did my master's at the age of 30, finished at 31, 32. So maybe I was like 33, thereabout. Wow. Yes.
It took you 30, okay, let me not say 33. So let's say...
I graduated at 20.
Yeah,
so it took me
13 years to finally get to public relations.
I am that person that literally had to go back and start my career from the ground up. It is never too late. And I still tell people till today. So it's not everyone that figures it out at the age of 20. It's not everyone. It's not everyone that figures it out immediately. They leave school and they just know this is what I want to do and they start. And no, it took me 13 years and I've been at it now. And I created a new career and I've been at it now for almost 15, 16 years.
So at what point did you call yourself and say, okay, I think, or how many years after you got with him did you say, okay, I want to be on my own. I want to start AT3 Resources?
Funny enough, I don't even think it was almost 5 years. But not even, yes. Because what had happened was, don't forget, this is me now adding up. I'm not adding up my career from banking, but I'm adding up my media experience from the TV station, from the magazine, added it up to the work I did in the PR agency. And the PR agency, to be honest, was like a school. So the experience you get from working on one client's brand in 5 years is not the same experience as my own 5 years. Trust me, in those years, I must have managed nothing less than 20-25 global brands.
Wow.
And I was coming in with them because I wasn't coming in as an inexperienced person. So I came in as the head of client services, but by the time I was leaving, I was the chief operating officer of the agency. Yes, managing at some point, almost 40 consultants. And we had all the biggest brands you can think of in our stable at the time, from the Coca-Colas of this world to the P&Gs of this world. Etisalat. We were working on Microsoft, Dell, Intel, CNN. It was a whole... So having the opportunity to sort of like contribute to building global brands of that nature just gave me the sort of confidence that I really don't know how else I could have got it from anything. Do you get? So by the time I was turning 40, I told you to remind me about turning 40, right? By the time I was turning 40, I had another aha moment. So my aha moment was, hang on, it can be so difficult to try to create something of my own that I could also influence how we respond to the market. Because what I found working at the agency that I worked, regardless of the fact that I was senior management, was that there's some decisions I couldn't take, right? You still had the managing director, you still had a board, not because it was good or bad. It's just sometimes you want the flexibility, right? And I just felt like, okay, I have something in me that I can do more with if I can make better decisions. And I just woke up one day, just as I was turning 40, and I said, it is time to make the next move. I think I had turned 40. If I try to calculate it well, but maybe 40, 41. Not after 41. And I just said to myself, hang on, I can actually consult. And let me mind you, Oiza, when I set up AT3, it was just me being driven by my desire to try and contribute more, like I said. But it's not like I had any grand dreams of becoming any
CEO.
No, I was going to be the CEO, right? But it wasn't like I had any grand dreams of becoming an agency that also manages global brands and has global attention. You know how you just start with a small vision? So maybe by the time we talk more, the next line of the story will be how I then built AT3. Because it did start just with a very tiny vision.
Okay, so now let's get into talking about the challenges. I think you already took me through the challenges, but let's be a little more about learning from your challenges, all right? So you've spent, let's say, 5 to 10 years, 13 years actually, of your life doing this and that and this and that and this and that before you finally got into public relation, right? I will consider that as a challenge because that's time, right? Time worth a lot that you've spent, okay? How were you then able to, because seeing where you are now, managing A-list brands and all, how were you able to quickly cover up for those times that I would say, quote and unquote, lost?
Well, you call it time lost. I call it time learning. Gaining a varied set of experiences. You can, trust me on this one, you cannot trade that one in the market. It was a whole lot of learning, meeting business leaders, emulate. You're almost like you can see the future, but you just don't have the opportunity to sort of like do it yet. But everything I did actually prepared me for what I'm doing now. Can I assure you that if I didn't go through that 13 years, there would have been no AT3. It was those 13 years, and I believe I've said snippets of it at the risk of repeating myself, that helped me to build discipline, helped me to build the tenacity, helped me to understand business. It helped me to understand how to operate without necessarily focusing on just myself. There are other major influences that you have to sort of like understand how to navigate through. It helped me to learn how to relate with people. I hope you know that the greatest make or mar in life for me is people. Like, how do you solidify your networks in such a way that they become currency for you. It's not, you can't do that in one day. None of what I'm doing now was done within AT3. There are relationships that I've built. In fact, the people that I've helped to carry AT3, there's no way they would have done that without the years
of banking,
of building, of just creating my own perception of self that helps them to know that they can trust and believe in you.
Is there any major challenge you something that happened, or at the point you felt stuck, and then you're like, you know what, maybe I really wasn't interested, maybe I should go back to bank, or maybe I should just, or maybe this, or maybe that? Was there ever a point like that, and how were you able to pull through out of that moment?
I spent too long in banking trying to make it work for me to have thought about any of that after I left. By the time I left at the age of 29, 30, there was too much clarity.
Oh.
It was clear cut that this wasn't for me. Do you see? So all I had to do, so what you describe as, is there any time you doubted yourself? All I had to do was, this new future I'm trying to create, what did I need to do to empower myself? What did I need to do to arm myself to be able to fulfill this destiny that was waiting for me? It was all a plan. Well, a plan that obviously some higher power put a stamp on. Because honestly speaking, everything I'm doing now was planned out. It was a case of, Tosh, go to school, try and learn your new career, gain some experiences. I can't tell you that I knew for sure that I was going to want to set up my own business. But as events unfolded, it was quite clear that I could take the power I had and convert it to something that I could directly influence. And there's no way you can directly influence something if you don't own it. You can only advise. Doesn't mean they'll take your advice. And me, my eyes were at some point very clear that some things were not working and they needed to be done in some particular ways. You don't always have all the answers, right? I'm sure you know that.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone always has all the answers. We just figure it out. Well, I'll speak for myself since it's my story. I just figured it out as I went along. In fact, if you want us to move into the AT3 story, I can. Because at the time I set up the company, it was just me feeling like a super consultant that had all these experiences in my bag that I felt I could share with the world, right?
We will move into AT3
Yes.
story, but I have an interesting question to
Go
ask
ahead.
you. You just talked about a superpower, you know. I remember.
How did I know you were going to pick on that?
I remember I think it was a video I watched, and then you said you feel like whatever it is you want, the universe always has a way of bringing it close to you.
You have done your homework.
Would we say that Tosin Adefeko is a spiritual person, or how would you describe or a prayerful person, or someone that is always like, God, I put this in your hand, please let it work out? Or you just fly and leave it to him to work it out however he wants.
We like religion too much in Nigeria.
Well,
and let me tell you what I don't do. I don't try to impose my beliefs on people, and I definitely don't let people impose theirs on me. Do you see? Let me tell you what I know about religion. I think religion is there to guide. Where it moves into obsession, or what's the other word now that they use for, like, fanaticism. Where it becomes fanatic is where I have a problem with, in any regard, either Islamic or Christianity. I think there's a superpower, right? But I'm not your church or mosque going type. Sorry.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
All right. Yeah.
I'm just not into that.
Yeah. So AT3. Let's talk about your win. Now it's 5 years and counting,
Yes.
right? Since you started AT3. Would you say that you've been able to achieve that thing that made you start AT3? Like, I picked from what you said. You wanted to be able to make decisions. You wanted to be able to make changes. You wanted to be able to do things without having to kindly revert or please find attached. So would you say that you've been able to do that 5 years down the
We're
road?
work in progress. that's what we are, to be honest. And I don't know where to start from with that one. But have I been able to achieve what I said? Let me tell you, the mere fact that I was able to start a company that moved from Tosin Adefeko, just me sitting on my dining and sort of like family and friends, this is what I'm doing now, that sort of the mere fact that I was able to do that, to build a company that has grown from that dining into a rented space, that moved from a rented space to investing in our own property and creating a story. The mere fact of that, I feel like I've succeeded at something. Now, every other thing is work in progress because, again, we just never have all the answers. In fact, every day a new thing happens to shock me.
Wow.
When it happens, the guy says, hey, shock me.
Okay.
Honestly. So the first year, like I said, it was just, I had an idea. I felt like, I was a good storyteller. If I was able to help brands, or in fact, I was just limiting, I was telling you about the vision earlier on, you said we'll come back to it, right? I was just limiting my offerings to, if I had any local corporates that felt like I could help them articulate their messaging, help them tell their stories. I had good networks with the press. We can help be that, person that connects target audiences with the brands and the story. And of course, the interventionist aspect of it with the media as well, because of course, with all the work I had done, I understood the Nigerian media landscape, even Africa, if you like. So this was me just trying to play small, right? And in the process, from the initial gigs that we got, it started becoming, I can't manage this alone, because I'm managing the entire process from strategy.
Start to finish.
Yes, end to end. So I had a partner. His name is George. If he's listening, let me call out his name. So at the time, when I had meetings, I'll just say to him, let's go. They're calling us here, kind of thing. He used to work with me at the former agency. So we just go do our presentations from strategy. We come up with ideas. We do execution. In terms of implementation, making sure the outcomes are right. Then back end, I'm struggling with finance, struggling with tax issues, struggling with media report. It was crazy. And that was what the first year looked like the whole year. But again, it's not like we had that many clients. So, hello. This was us just building our work, building our work profile and trying to have case studies of our own. Because the case studies that I could share in the first year were of the work I had done with another agency. So you want case studies of your own, right? So it didn't matter whether you were paying or not. We could do some work. I had time, right? I remember when the governor of Lagos State now, Sanwo-Olu, was going to become governor. I remember, the people that organized some corporate engagements for him with Corporate Lagos came to me at the time. I'll do it. AT3, I'll do it. We were literally a new company. They didn't pay, but I didn't care. I was able to build, use my networks and database to bring the entire Corporate Lagos into a room to meet with Babajide Sanwo-Olu. He hasn't said thank you, so please make sure he listens to this podcast. Yeah. Thank you, Oiza. Make that happen. Anyway, she was laughing. So, long story short, this is what we were doing in the first year, 2018. I won't forget. So, this is what we were doing. Just basically, trying to stay relevant. And invariably, technically, I'm still learning, right? Offered myself to platforms like Wimbiz. I said, I can serve. NESG, I can serve. Anywhere you wanted attention, I will help, because it's not like we were doing that much in terms of business. And then we're just building profiles. By 2019, the business started to grow and gain more attention, right? By 2020, COVID struck. When COVID struck, now never mind that 2 years had passed since we started and we had started to gain grounds. My former chairman was one of my best clients at the time. We had all this work we were doing, in so many areas. Long story short, we had to shut down for 6 months, I think, at the time. The team went home.
No working.
I'm telling you, because again, don't forget the three arms to AT3, to my business. We're PR consultants, which people know us for more now. But then we were doing more of events because again, we had to start. I just looked at all the business areas that we could support with, and I knew we had event competencies, we had the PR competence, And like I said before, I also had very strong networks with the media. So we put all that together and created this company that could consult in those three areas. So at different points in time, different aspects of the business is more, is busier. Let me put it that way. Anyway, during the COVID year, of course, events shut down. So that consultancy was zero or nothing. With PR, I just told the team, this is the time to develop ourselves. Let's be learning. Let's keep abreast of world, global issues and all that. So we're just interacting at a very low level. All of that was happening till life started coming back to normal again, slowly. But it's in that same year that we had our most challenging year.
Okay.
That we got our biggest breakthrough.
We'll come to talking about your most challenging year and the biggest breakthrough. But let's go on a break, dear viewer. This is still the Builder Story coming to you live from Sabi Writers Studios. My name is Oiza, and you just heard Mrs. Tosin Adefeko of AT3 Resources tell us her story. And oh my God, I can't wait to hear more. Don't go away. We'll be back.
Tales from Africa aren't just stories. They are living pieces of history passed down from one generation to another, celebrating the true spirit of Africa. Join us on a journey into Africa, the motherland, the cradle of civilization. Alo by Sabi Writers takes you to the heart of African narrative. It is an online marketplace to find, shop, and enjoy your favorite African stories. Suspense.
Why is mother's phone not going through?
Betrayal.
But you said you loved me.
Tragedy. Vengeance.
His grandmother will pay for this.
Mystery. And romance.
I will always love you, Rotimi.
All available on Alo by Sabi Writers for 1,000 Naira only. Visit alo.sabywriters.com today to experience storytelling like never before.
Hi, welcome back to the Builder Story podcast coming to you live from Sabi Writers Studios. My name is Oiza. I am your host, and of course, I still have with me in the studio Mrs. Tosin Adefeko, the CEO and founder of AT3 Resources, a public relations, events, and media consultancy company. And of course, it's been amazing. It's been nothing short of wonderful. We've learned to always learn as you grow in life, no matter what time you think you've spent. The lessons learned are what matters. Okay, welcome back, ma'am.
Thank you, Isa. Good to be here.
You're still looking beautiful.
Thank you.
The big break, yes, the big break that year. That big break happened for AT3 Resources. We want to know.
Okay, so as I was saying, I think this segment I should start it with, because it's another, it's one of my favorite phrases. When people say, oh, something happened to me, I don't like to be in the woe is me emotion for too long. Because the moment you go into woe is me, you go into depression, it would just spiral into so many other negative things. So for me, I always try to stay positive. But there was this one time that even all my positivity and desire to always be positive ended. It was when COVID happened. So
shook everybody.
There was no way. Let me tell you why mine especially so, because we literally had just done like 2 years of the business. And in our second year, we had started gaining traction. We started gaining attention. We felt like, oh my God, we're growing.
Here.
Exactly. Don't forget, this is something I described that started almost like a joke, if you like. It wasn't like I had this, So for us now, we had just moved into a rented space at Oniko at the time. And we just paid rent. I had employed people.
Wow.
I'm like, we're growing. We need to accommodate the growth that is coming for us. All the enthusiasm you could think about. Energy. And then I was just watching COVID like this with the corner of my eye.
Bombastic side eye.
I swear to God. I was like, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
Oh my God.
We had 2 major events that we had sent out IVs to
Wow.
the whole of big event. We had paid the whole hotel, we had done everything.
What?
And I'm not even kidding you. I still have the IVs. I kept it for posterity.
Hey.
I was like, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And it came. I swear, the day they announced, we hereby shut down Lagos State, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. We just looked at our space, looked at everything, the ivy strewn everywhere. I was in shock. And I swear, everything I knew about staying positive in my life ended. For 2 weeks, I was on a couch, staring into space. And all I could think of was, what next? Do you see? So, in that 2 weeks, I didn't even make contact with my staff. Imagine employing people you don't talk to.
And in their mind,
I was like, where's this woman? Exactly. I was like, By the time I woke up from my reverie, I sent a mail. Guys, we all know this is, and just, now try to become that leader that I was supposed to be. Like, we need to stay positive.
Motivational talk.
Exactly. And that was how we just started. Now, in that period, there was not much to do, right? I think we were just doing more knowledge development amongst ourselves. Then we started to sort of like offer our services to whoever needed it at the time. I remember this consortium came and said they wanted to do like a work from home project that they wanted to, just to analyze if this was going to be our new life. I joined them. I said, don't worry, we'll handle the comms part of it. Let's do it. I said, right time you are calling. Offered again. Went on that project. It was very interesting, that one. And from there, I was, and I don't think I've spoken about Mr. Okeri, and I should, because he helped me in my second year, because we skipped that year. So let me just quickly go back. I remember when I was learning to be an entrepreneur, I remember going to him, Austin Okeri. I'd seen him speak at Wimbiz, and I remember going to him and learning how to scale my business, how to grow, scale, and position ourselves, for geometric growth. It was actually what he taught me that made us to go and open that office. So that's why I'm going back to mention him, but it's fine. Let me continue from where I stopped. So now, at this time, we were just doing because I became the president of the alumni. So we were doing, children feeding, education. We're honestly just doing charity work until we ran a project for a family. And someone in that family happened to work with a global firm that was looking for a PR agency. And if we hadn't worked for that family for the smallest of jobs, if you like, the global company I'm talking about would never have known who the hell we were. Because I remember when we became friends later, after we had pitched and gotten many years later, because we've been on the account for almost 3 years. This is our third year. And I remember them saying at the time when we became friends that we didn't know who the hell you were. But after we spoke to you, after we related with you, we realized, there's something here.
Wow.
Let's give them an opportunity. I tell you, imagine this small baby that I described, that I was just, managing, trudging along, 1 or 2, 3 employees. It was not that much of a big deal. Imagine getting the opportunity to then work with a global brand as their retained consultant for 5 markets in Africa.
Wow. I have an applause here.
I love it.
I do.
So imagine that. That's what happened to us.
Wow.
Let me tell you, when they first made contact I think it was even on LinkedIn that they made contact first. I said my staff members, I was like, there's 1419 person that wants to.
So?
No, I said the 1419 person wants to.
Scam us.
So I come and say, like, can't be us. That was it. Until we got follow-up calls. And I was like, this is true. Wow. And this is an opportunity of a lifetime. Guys, we've done this before. We can do it again.
Grab your coffee now.
I stopped sleeping. I was like, we will die here. We can win this thing. The next thing, ideas flowing. Everybody, it was crazy.
Wow.
Our videographer here taking my personal videos was our timekeeper. She was like, 10 more minutes, 5 minutes. That's how we pitched that account. Wow. People always wonder, because I hear different things every day. I just smile. Like, you remember what we said in the beginning about don't listen to the side talk? Because that in itself was the singular opportunity we got to become mainstream. Because all of a sudden, we're now like, these guys are managing these people. That means they can do this. That means they can do this. And we're getting calls from all parts of Africa.
Now, amidst all of these things,
Yes.
let's get into the business lessons
Yes.
that you learned,
Yeah.
from the COVID period to doing the job for that family member that called you for the global brands job. What are the practical lessons that you say you learned and you'd like to share with entrepreneurs watching or listening to V's podcast right now?
I have many, but let me try and just, pinpoint and narrow down to the ones that have helped me and the ones that I think any world deserves to have from anyone that is, serving anybody. For me, I would say you must have the courage to tell the truth about what you can do and what you cannot do. People would always come to you. Can you do this? People always say yes first. Yes. I say
Then
yes
Google.
first and I go and find out. But I still have to make sure that I can deliver on that thing. If you take it because of the financial gains and you mess them up, that is the story they will continue to tell about you till the end of time. So our greatest mantra at our agency is we have the courage to tell you what we can do, but we also have the courage to tell you what we cannot do. We keep our promises. A promise is a debt. That statement is not just a statement. It's not just something you tell your 5-year-old or your 10-year-old. It is something that must be ingrained in your value systems. Most of the problems you see around today is all based on people uttering things that they never do. And they know they're not going to do. It's not because of any force majeure. It's not because something happened along the way. Because there's no perfect situation in life, right? So things can happen. What I say to people is, as the things are happening, you will see them. Inform the people that it's going to affect way ahead of time. This is where, if we go back to rigidity, I said, no, I don't compromise. So with people, if you cannot be that person that can key into this vision, then you cannot be an AT3 person. And that is where I always part ways with people that I try to do business or work with. I'm like, no compromises there. Another thing is to be consistent. If they talk about you, what are they going to say? Are you, or is that tomorrow? And you are Chibuzo next day. That means you have like 1 million personalities. Nobody knows who you are. I don't see how that works either. I think for me, if there's anything I pride myself with, in fact, I have people from 40 years, Tosin, you've not changed. I said, what am I changing into? Like, this is me. If there's anything that I'm going to improve upon, it will be stuff that over the years have shown me that, this one doesn't work, or tone it down. Like before, I used to call myself brutally honest. Which, by the way, I still am. But guess what? Please, I keep my honesty to myself most times. I can't shout. I don't know if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So there's some things that you can actually sort of like adjust. You can't be claiming that that's who you are when you can see it's clearly not working. Not everybody likes the truth. I have friends that would just literally do stuff and you'd be like, well, she has to know that's what she does. But I find over time, it becomes like work. Like some people don't even want to know. So why don't you leave them? You don't have to be together. Just leave them in their space, in their... Do you get? So consistency for me is also very key. Transparency is very key. There's no harm in, just being that person that people can depend on for what you are or what you claim to be. If there's something happening, let people, just say it. All that trying to be cunning and shady, and I don't know how far that will get you. It gets some people far. It's up to them. Again, I'm telling you what works for me, right? And what else can I remember?
Like a last point?
Stay motivated, stay learning. There's no one coming to rescue you. People are always looking like you think someone is magically coming to rescue you from somewhere. And this is where, some of the controversial parts of the God factor and the religion, like you can pray, of course. We all love that we can pray and believe something comes out of that prayer. But I'm happy that conversation on prayer without work is coming to the forefront more. People are becoming aware that it's not about just sitting there and praying for manna to fall. You actually have to act. There was a video I watched one day. I'm like, this is the best video. And I was so happy it was coming from a pastor because the video was very clear. I think it was T.D. Jakes. I don't know if I get his name right. The really chunky guy. He goes that in church we're taught to pray and pray and pray and pray because everyone wants God to come down. I can't remember now vividly how he put it, but it was a case of, praying for God to give you a chair or God to give you a table. If I ever find it, I'll share with you. He was like, God doesn't make chairs.
He's not a carpenter.
He doesn't make tables. He's just going to sort of like, you have to figure out how to navigate life and then pray for an endorsement of what you wish for, in my opinion, if I have to add that.
Okay, all right. Let me just let that be. So, let me sound like an interviewer right now.
Okay.
Where do we see AT3 Resources in say, let's say 5, 10, 15 years in the future? And then where do we see you, Mrs. Tosin Adefeko, in the future?
Okay, let me tell you, we just celebrated our 5th anniversary. And I remember when we were celebrating in January, what came to my mind was, I felt like when we started, like I said, we just had the vision to impact companies, impact individuals that wanted people to help them tell their own unique stories, right? So I feel like, we've had the opportunity to do a lot of that. So what more? If we're not careful, we can actually get bored. So in my mind, I'm thinking, and this is all we're doing this year, most of what we're doing this year, is beyond telling stories, what else can we do to impact the world? And most of our strategies are leaning towards, going beyond using our networks and referrals to create market access, to sort of like look at the platforms that we currently have and how else can we also contribute to what is happening with regard to opportunities to create platforms that people can key into. Some of that is still in the cooler. We'll keep it there until it comes, to fruition. But that is where we see ourselves in the near future. We want to create the next level of impact. Let me just put it that way.
How about you?
Me, Tosin.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I feel like my destiny is tied to everything I'm trying to do now. I'm just trying to make sure that this evolving woman stays happy. If I'm not happy, I don't see how else anything around me can function. Trying to make sure that I groom really grounded, humble, conscience-driven kids, so that I'm not contributing nonsense to the world. That's number 2. Number 3, ensure growth in every form. Personal growth, the company's growth, in my personal relationships. I'm just trying to...
Speaking of kids.
Yes.
So how are you able to handle work? And I see you love being a mother and still, be a mother.
Yes. So, in my earlier life, and my older son, he's funny, Tomiwa, he goes, Mom. So I have, let me tell you, I have a 20-year-old, then there's an 8-year gap, and then I have a 12-year-old and I have a 9-year-old. So what has happened is I have kids in different age, different stages of their lives. So my older kid is like my friend. We just, he goes, Mom, these little ones, they're spoiled too. They're spoiled. So I always have a good laugh about that. Anyway, well, I don't think being a mom ever ends. You see 83-year-old people still worrying about their kids. I'm like, hello? Yeah. How? So my balance is just to be available for my kids. We started this whole conversation with me sharing the fact that I never got that luxury, So I just knew that there was no way I was being an absent mother, regardless of what I was trying to be in the world or contribute to the world. It wasn't happening. So with my older kid, now he's away in school. You find me trying to oscillate between the younger ones. I'm just constantly looking at their calendars. And I know when to fit in the older kid, The younger ones are still home, which is fantastic. So I know when to make sure that they are properly protected and properly, developing properly. And in the same vein, still, it's not, I don't know how to, I hear different perspectives of work-life balance. And I think the one I key into the most is you cannot have everything at the same time. I like that one because at different points in time, something will have to give for the other. So I'm never looking for, perfection. Like some people be like, Tosh, you need to do more speaking. I only came here because I like Chinonso. And I key into what he's doing with Sabira.
We appreciate that.
Very good. But I'm not interested in being the most popular PR person. Trust me on this one. I stay in the background and I do my work. My clients are the ones that I'm positioning in that way, even though I've grown to understand that we also, as PR people, we don't do enough of that. We also have to position ourselves. I totally get it. But the stage of my life I'm in, I have so many things that desire my attention, and I have to sort of like really be very aggressive. So I think that time is currency. I'm very, very aggressive with my time. I know what I'm dedicating. You have to matter, I promise you. So in that wise, I'm able to give attention to whom attention is really due to at every point in time. There are times in my life that these same children I say are priority cannot see me. There was a time I was working from home on the dining, and my kid, I told them that they can't see the line, they can't see it, but there's an invisible line there. If you cross it,
and they wouldn't.
And they wouldn't.
They wouldn't there.
Of course not. Like literally, this is mommy being busy. It's about boundaries, guys.
But still, you're the mother that will go to PTA.
No. I would not tell a lie. That's just not my thing. PTA. Open day, non-negotiable.
Okay.
School presentation days, non-negotiable. Like my kid will be presenting, then he'll be that child that cannot look up and see his mother. It's not gonna happen. I'll drop whatever I'm doing. But that PTA, the one that parents will all stand up and talk at the same time. Not for me. Sorry.
Okay, so we're rounding up with the interview. But what do you do for fun, though? What do you do for fun? Just have fun, beach outs with the girls.
I'm like the life of the party. You don't have to become a form CEO here for you. Hey, you don't want to know.
Yeah, just me now.
I'll just use small. Let me just use small. Now, you can't be living life by just walking alone now. Do you understand? You understand?
I get it.
So ever so often, not as often as before, I must confess, because before we were, high party, high life, but honestly, even age now. Now, after work, you find me on my couch. What am I looking for? But so what we do now is strategic enjoyment. Even that one is planning. That one too is planning. I promise you.
Even enjoyment has to be strategic.
the guy is laughing. I promise you. I tell you no lie, because I'm with friends that everybody is like a leader in their industry. Everybody has different calendars. Everybody is bloody busy. Like sometimes I have my friend. See my friend calling me and I'm like, I'm in a studio. Is it urgent? So we literally have to look at each other's calendars months before and say, okay, when can we hang out? And more often than not, we lock it down to maybe a girly trip because we now know that we've committed resources to it. So we will go. But without that, no. I ain't sitting around empty banter, no.
You don't do that.
Not anymore,
that
sorry.
Girl.
I'm not dealing on that level, sorry.
Wow, it's
empty
been
banters.
Fun. It's been fun. So, finally, what would you say to a young person or a business owner, an entrepreneur, an SME, someone who is just right there right now, struggling and trying to find a way? Words of marble, something I can say, this, copyright Tosin Adefeko 2023.
Don't copyright me, because honestly speaking, I'm also a lifelong learner, and everything I know, I took from people. So I remember when I was much younger, I used to love Oprah. In fact, my friend...
Oprah Winfrey?
Yes, I still do. In fact, my best friend remembers me saying, like, every quote, I sort of like just watch it, not because of the talk show aspect. If you read about other aspects of her life and all the challenges she went through as a growing person and how she was able to come out of that and become the person you now know as Oprah Winfrey, then you know where I'm coming from. Do you see? So basically, she just taught me that there's no hurdle too big to cross. But more importantly, I think this saying that I heard before, that your value system is your defense system is a key one for me. Even though I'm sort of like, I've built my personality into understanding who I am and what I can do and what I can't do, I find many people haven't, right? It's an opportunity for you to think about what your value systems are, because everything you are will come through to everyone you relate with. So who's going to speak about you when you're not in the room? What are they going to say about you? There's so many questions you should ask yourself. Those two are very important. And the last thing I want to talk about, or rather the last question I want to ask whoever is listening is, who is going to cry when you die?
My mommy, my dad.
Hopefully it's not just your mom and your dad.
Yeah.
That speaks to humanity. It speaks to life. What are you contributing to the world? Do they even know? Are they going to mention when you die? Who will cry when you die?
Impact.
Think about it.
Thank you very much for your time, Mrs. Tosin Adefeko. Wow, it's been fun.
Thank you,
I
Oiza.
love
I
it.
enjoyed myself as well.
I'm glad you do. Tell the truth at all times. Let people know you for who you are. Do not say you can do something you do not know how to do. Consistency, transparency, and most importantly, your value system is your defense system. All these are not my words. They are the words of the CEO and founder, AT3 Resources. Can I hear an applause? Yeah, a public relations, events, and media consultancy company. And it's been an amazing session with her on the Builder Story podcast, coming to you live from Savvy Writers Studios. My name is Oiza, and once again, don't forget to follow us on all social media at Savvy Writers Studios on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, every social media channel or platform, and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on notifications, share our content with your friends and family at Savvy Writers TV. Till I or we come your way again next time. Bye for now.